about it.
Today, the Supreme Court began hearing arguments in a case challenging President Trump's decision to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA,
affecting 700,000 young immigrants.
One of their highest profile cases this term.
DACA was created back in 2012. It allows some undocumented immigrants who came over to the U.S. as children to receive a renewable 2-year reprieve from deportation.
Obama created the DACA program with an executive action without getting any approval from Congress, and President Trump says that's illegal.
It was 2017 when President Trump ordered an end to DACA.
The program, known as DACA, is being rescinded.
But lower courts thus far have rejected that Trump decision as arbitrary and capricious.
Basically, the question is whether or not the Trump administration adequately explained why it was ending this program.
President Trump tweeted earlier this morning that many DACA recipients are
far from angels. Some are very tough, hardened criminals.
First of all, you can't qualify for DACA if you have any sort of criminal history.
With President Trump appointing 2 new justices to the bench, the court does have a 5-4 conservative majority.
The question is, what about that 9th justice?
John Roberts has become something of a swing vote on certain issues.
And of course, this decision is expected in June of 2020 next year, right in the middle of a presidential election.
The all-consuming political drama of impeachment goes public on Wednesday for the first time on Capitol Hill.
The top diplomat to Ukraine, Bill Taylor, and Deputy Assistant Secretary of State George Kent will testify.
Their testimonies expected to detail explosive claims, alleging President Trump pressured Ukraine to launch investigations for his political benefit.
But despite all the evidence,
this is a political process, and what people hear and what they think about it after they hear is going to make a huge difference.
Going into these public hearings,
House Republicans circulated a memo last night that laid out their lines of defense,
outlining 4 key points.
Meanwhile, House investigators releasing 3 more transcripts from their closed-door depositions, including former Ukraine aide Catherine Croft. Croft telling lawmakers
it was actually Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney at the White House at the direction of the president, who placed an informal hold on that military aid.
In the meantime, there is some jockeying inside the White House
involving Mick Mulvaney.
My God, you mean that's the same guy?
His attorneys announced he's dropping a plan to sue over the House subpoena he received. Now, instead, his attorneys say he will obey a White House order not to testify.
By withdrawing from this suit, Mulvaney is saying that he will
rely on the direction of the president and will not cooperate with the proceedings.
The race for the Democratic nomination could be getting more crowded.
I'm sorry, what?
Just days after Michael Bloomberg shook things up by signaling he's ready to jump into the Democratic presidential field.
Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick is considering jumping into the race. Patrick ruled out a presidential run earlier this year.
Well, now people close to him say he is reconsidering. According to the New York Times, Patrick called Joe Biden last week to tell him he's mulling a last-minute entry.
Who is this guy? Patrick made history as Massachusetts' first black governor.
Patrick was governor of that state right after Mitt Romney until 2015.
He's a close friend of former President Obama.
The top tier of candidates not necessarily diverse. Deval Patrick could add to that diversity at the top. He could feasibly be an interesting add.
But this is really late. I mean, you can't organize the first 4 states.
He's been off the public stage for a while.
By the way, he works for Bain Capital right now.
And that really hung up Mitt Romney in the presidential run.
Between him and Bloomberg.
Yet another sign of the growing anxiety among some Democrats that the current slate of candidates starting the race will not be able to unseat President Trump.
Clearly, there are Democrats behind closed doors, a lot of them on Wall Street.
Concerned that they don't have one candidate that unifies everybody and is the one that can totally take down Trump. If he decides to run, he would most likely announce on Thursday. That's the day before the filing deadline in the first primary state of New Hampshire.
And I have to say, I'm very proud of her. My daughter, Ivanka, that's all she wants to talk about. She's now created 14 million jobs. We'll thank Ivanka. She's done an amazing job. 14 million from 500,000. 14 million and going up.